name is Sarah Grimwood, Chair of the Natural Resources Commission, and I'm calling this public meeting to order at 7:01. Tonight's NRC meeting will be a hybrid in-person and Zoom meeting. We have a microphone set up on the commission table and plans will be projected through the TV monitor. If you're presenting via Zoom, please turn on your audio and microphone when it is time for you to speak. Following the presentation by the petitioner and questions from the commission, members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment. Please identify yourself with name and address for the record. You can also raise your hand from your phone by dialing *9 and use *6 to unmute. All video screens will be turned off with the exception of any commissioners attending virtually and the current petitioner. Once the commission has acted on an application, the petitioner is free to leave the meeting. In the event of any technical difficulties, all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will be automatically continued to the August 9th. Actually, it's the July 27th
Yes,
meeting.
the July
24th meeting, sorry. Yeah. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. At this time, I would ask the commissioners to introduce themselves.
Nick Pappas,
Ed Nardi, Bill Cremeza.
And
Gary Kleiman.
Thank you. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. Public comment is limited to up to 10 minutes with no more than 2 minutes allocated to any one speaker. Public comment is limited to items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments today? No? Oh, okay, great. So moving on, next agenda item is to approve the meeting minutes from May the 8th, 2024. Did anybody have any comments?
I have no comments.
I had one minor comment. Oh, sorry, send it to
All
Karen.
right, you already did that.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have any comments, so. it looked
So why don't I
like-
make a motion that we accept the minutes as slightly amended?
Second,
Thank you.
All in favor?
Oh, yes. And the vote, Nick,
aye,
Aye. Aye.
Gary,
And I think I'll abstain because I missed that meeting.
okay,
Okay.
and I'm an aye as well, thank you. Thanks for prompting me along.
Well,
Okay, do we have any commissioner comments this evening?
just one, the
Mhm.
thing you circulated from the Air Force,
Mhm,
yes,
yes.
is there, we have no jurisdiction there apparently, but is there any place you can look at the thing they're doing? If there was no link or any reference.
no, there wasn't. I would imagine that there is. I mean, it all sounds like it's restorative in nature and that they've worked with
Right.
Fish and Wildlife.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, it's,
Educational reasons.
sure. I'm happy to look into that. And
Yeah.
I'll let people know.
And just a question, is that the MIPA? Was that the MIPA issue?
It's NEPA,
NEPA.
National.
Okay, I was just
That they
curious. I
filed
was,
for.
or trying to understand that acronym.
So that, just to sort of let everybody else know, so the commission received a notification from, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not gonna be articulate, but it was from somebody at Hanscom Air Force Base, basically saying that they are going through the NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act process for habitat improvements somewhere on the base.
Mm.
And we don't have a lot of information on where that is.
Yeah.
It's
Nick,
interesting. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
going to be establishing a pollinator flyway. I had, that was fascinating. I
Yeah.
hadn't really thought much about that before.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I'll see if I can find, where
Yeah.
you might be able to see more information
Thank
about that.
Any other commissioner comments?
No,
Gary, no? Delia, director's update, please.
So the Warner's Pond Task Force will hold the 9th meeting on July 18th.
Mhm.
So next Thursday, 5 PM here and on Zoom. I am sorry to say that we have seen some unauthorized vegetation removal at Warner's Pond at the Pocket Park, off Commonwealth Ave. And, it is within the 25-foot no disturb zone. It's on the slope, that goes down from the bank. of the pocket park down towards the view shed of the dam. And I'm just gonna see if I can pull that up here. 1 second. So that's just a little pile of it there that is not terribly illustrative. This is probably the largest pile. Um,
Wait.
yeah,
Is it somebody, just a local landscaper dumping or?
no, it's definitely you can see that riprap slope is
Yeah.
now exposed and has been cleared.
Yeah, Oh, I
And,
see.
They weren't intentionally pulling invasives, were they? They were just
It was
making
cut.
room. It was cut.
so it was not invasives removal.
No, so someone's trying to get access to the pond or
Or
something.
view,
Or a view.
view.
Or a view.
And the frustrating thing is that, one, it's in the 25-foot notice
Yeah.
strip zone, and two, there are invasives out there. And because they've been cut, now they're a lot more difficult to manage.
Hmm.
So, do you want to have us put up signs that says
Yeah.
clearing on town land, or, vegetation removal on town land is not an authorized activity
Yeah,
without prior?
Prohibited, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what about the Warner's Pond group itself, the group that created itself around Warner's Pond? Maybe they could provide some educational value for the community and
Oh, the Friends of Wonder
the
Spot.
friends of
Yeah.
Warner's
Yeah.
Pond.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, so
If they're
so
concerned
suggesting.
about
Reach out to
Warner's
them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy to, so reach out to them and just say, if you
I-
can just
I
share
would
with.
suggest if it's possible to provide some information, like a pamphlet or something on what is the correct way to deal with either invasives, if that is what they were trying to do, or what are the rules and regulations around, just information rather than just putting a sign saying, this was wrong. Providing some information on what's allowed and what's not allowed and why.
Mhm.
Well, it's town land.
Right.
right,
So
So-
sharing that information through the Warner's Pond Task Force, I think, is the right
Yeah.
way to go.
Okay,
I would think
I
so.
think that's, I mean, we could put up a conservation land use regulations sign that says what activities are permitted and what are not.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of folks don't know where their property ends and where the
Yeah,
town's
that's
ends,
true.
and that they're not allowed to.
And if you inform the friends of the pond, then somebody there is bound to see.
Right.
If somebody continues to do it, they'll
Yeah.
see it
Right,
and then
eyes
they
and
can
ears.
speak up.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's a good point.
Yep, I think that's good. There's only one abutter, and he has gone through a permit process and is very aware of where his land is. I doubt it's the abutter who did the work. So in any event, I think those are good
Yeah.
suggestions. We'll coordinate share the information with the task force.
Yeah.
And we'll put up some signage that is just basically not saying, don't do this, but these are, what's allowed and.
And the friends of
Contacted.
Warner's Pond too, not just. Task Force.
No, I was gonna
Yes,
say,
yeah,
friends,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, the friends.
That's what she said.
Yeah. I think both,
Yeah, both,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So White Ponds, on May 29th, so I should have reported this at the last meeting. The APODs, two of the APODs were set in Thoreau's Cove, in the third year of effort to remove cyanobacteria, from the pond, and, no blooms so far, and it's just basically removing tree pollen at this point. Mhm.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Especially with heat and sun and.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Yep, so that's good news. The Fairyland parking lot at Town Forest, has been up for reconstruction for some time, and it is now finally going to be
Oh.
reconstructed. So that begins tomorrow. News and notices just went out, today on that, and it probably, I think, will go through the end of next week.
Hmm.
It will involve, so that's actually, that parking lot is within the public road right of way for Walden Street.
Oh,
And they will include, as part of that design, some sort of sedimentation basin.
That's great.
And we don't have any jurisdiction over it because it's outside of 100 feet from wetlands and it's not conservation land.
Huh.
And the plan was for riprap. I took a look at it last week and said, if you want to change this to a planted, basin that we would be happy to, provide a planting plan. So see if they're able to do that. But it will basically overflow from that basin and go sort of over
Towards
the,
building.
yeah, it will go towards, they'll have a small
the building.
swale that's created that will go through, so towards the courthouse.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
eventually it will discharge close
Into
to a
local,
basin, in that location.
So is the primary reason they're doing it is because of the water problems that are often at that end, that often floods out?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And then the last thing that I have is that this Haywood Meadows Stewardship Committee has been working on an update of the landscape preservation plan that was first prepared in 2004. And they completed it, the writing of it last year. But just completed, all the addition of, more photographs, into the report. And so they basically have left the original report intact and put revisions that they made into the report in blue. And it updates, a lot of the
Nice,
report,
yeah.
the recommendations, and it addresses which ones have been accomplished, and some of the ones have changed a little bit, like the portion of Haywood Meadow that is on Walden Street. So, at the intersection of Haywood Street, Walden Street, and, Everett.
Yep.
Going towards the fire station.
Yep.
That meadow was not at that point known to be conservation land.
That's across the street, across the brook, on the other side of it.
On the other side of the brook.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It is technically, it is conservation land,
Uh-huh.
and so now that has
Okay,
been
yeah.
incorporated in to this version of the plan. And they recommend that the Haywood Meadows Stewardship Committee is a subcommittee of the NRC,
Mhm.
and the NRC may want to consider holding a hearing or a meeting on this plan.
Yeah.
To share it with the public and receive public comment.
Hmm.
So
That'd be
I
great.
can put this on an agenda that we
Yeah.
don't have a lot of other
Yeah, I think
things
it's a great idea.
scheduled for.
Yeah.
Is that available online?
It's posted on the website
Great.
under plans, so you can go to the Haywood Meadows Stewardship Committee and see
Oh,
it
great.
there.
Good.
Or under plans, reports, and brochures. We do have hard copies if anybody would like a
Don't
hard
get
copy,
me.
but yeah.
I would actually, I'd like to borrow it, thank you.
Yeah.
The pollinator side across the road, that is beautiful. I was amazed. I don't know how you, whether you're feeling good about it, but I thought I think it's been
Which,
fantastic.
on the Walden Street
On,
side?
on the, across the street from across Haywood Street from the main part of, how would you say it?
So we,
Where
they term the town meadow as the West Meadow
the West
and the
Meadow.
Gun House side as the East Meadow.
Okay, the West Meadow.
Okay.
So the West Meadow, I
Yeah.
think is looking really fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, amazing how much insect life is in there now.
It's, so I always am amazed, the crew, it's one of their first things that they do is to mow the
That's
series of
right.
paths
Yeah,
that
yeah,
are on both sides of the meadow.
yeah.
And whenever I walk through that meadow, I am amazed
Yeah.
at how vibrant.
It's exactly right. I went the other day. It was just
Yeah.
stunning.
Yeah.
So there's always that little path through it, there's always so many nesting bee holes.
Yeah,
Yeah, all the way along,
Yeah.
yeah.
there's dragonflies and
Yeah.
mayflies
Mhm.
and,
Yeah,
bees and butterflies. And so, yeah, I haven't seen the pollinator. That
That one
small
section.
triangle.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Recently, like in the past probably 2 weeks, I haven't been out there,
Yeah,
but,
really a great spot.
yeah,
Good,
great. Yeah, that's it for me, thanks.
thank you very much. Okay, so first tonight we have a continuance, a notice of intent for 287 Lindsay Pond Road.
Here we go.
This is DP file 1371667.
Good evening,
Welcome.
Ringwall from GPR, representing the Burrs. Really, I don't know, but I do wanna let other folks in, but I know that Gail Burr and Jonathan Silverstein should. possibly-
Everybody should be in,
Everybody should
there's
be in.
nobody in the waiting room.
Okay,
For your own.
guess so. I have. So, we last met back seems like forever ago. But, we had to wait for attending the zoning board of appeals meeting and then to get back to a meeting here. I submitted to you, a revised set of plans and a revised narrative that I had marked up in red, basically the changes. The zoning board of appeals, did grant us, the setback into the frontage setback of roughly 7 feet. Which is in the upper left corner of the plan that's on the screen. With that, also as part of that, there was discussion previously about basements and whether basements are included in gross floor area and a bunch of other things. And the bottom line out of all that is there's no longer a basement in the ADU. There is a basement, but it's not, it's under habitable ceiling height. We'll have from the basement floor to the truss is under 7 feet, under 6'8" or whatever it is. I think it's 6'7¾" or whatever the number happens to be. But because of that, we don't have window wells on the back of the ADU anymore.
That was a big discussion, yeah.
Though the window wells had a drain line that came over and went into your 50-foot zone, and we no longer have to go into the 50-foot zone because we no longer have window wells. Further, the building itself that we're proposing that we had at the same setback as the existing building of 30.8 feet. Got to move to, and I gotta check my number so I don't say the wrong thing, but I think it's, it moved, I wanna say to 37 feet and change. Can you read it there, Delia? I can't read from this distance.
37.8.
Thank you. So we moved the building back 7 feet. We did twist it just a little bit too, clockwise, because that was part of making all the other things meet setbacks, as we move the buildings in unison. So the good news out of all that is when I came to you initially, we were looking at an additional 788 square feet of new impervious area within your 100-foot buffer zone. We're now looking at 42 new square feet of impervious area within your buffer zone.
Yeah.
We're reducing we had nothing in the 25-foot, in the 50-foot zone, we reduced it by 255 feet. In the 75 to 100, we went from 146 to 107, and in the 50 to 75, and in the 75 to 100, we went from 360 to 190 square feet. So, sizable reductions in the buffer zone. We're, as I say, we're only 42 square feet over what we have, and we're further away from the wetlands than previous. This plan has a second sheet now. Before I had submitted to the NRC the ZBA copy that had all the drainage, and the second sheet, as it goes there, shows you the details for the drainage structures and how those structures came about in the upper left corner for sizing. And we also submitted the O&M to the NRC so that it is all part of the NOI package itself of actual documents versus by reference, and giving you other copies that were there. We put it all in the NOI plan. I think those were all the things that
You
we
did pretty well.
discussed at
Yeah.
the last meeting a month
did.
plus ago.
Yeah.
And I think those were all things that are in the right direction. We still are doing all of the planting and the changing of the mowing areas and putting the monuments in for the mowing areas, et cetera, et cetera. So before, when we had 788 square feet and we were providing 3,025 square feet of mitigation, now we have 42 square feet and we're providing 3,000
Good.
25
That's
square
good.
feet.
That sounds like a good one. I like that. That's very good. That's good math.
Sounds like somebody's
Yeah.
winning there. So that's where we're at. And there's a table that I incorporated for all those numbers so that you don't have to have your head spin trying to remember them all. And I turn it over to the commission for any questions.
Well, first of all, thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is a real win-win, I think. Thank you for considering, listening to us and I think the end result is really great.
I would second that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Your work and the homeowners.
The homeowners, our work to get the homeowners' desires, but
There you
yes,
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all
it's a
good.
team.
It's a team effort. Yep.
Any other comments?
No.
Gary, anything from you? No?
Nothing there.
No?
Okay.
Okay,
Just agreeing
fantastic.
with what everyone else said, it's super that we were able to move it back further and it looks great.
And I've gone from bearded to short hair. No- It's been a long time.
Great, well, we do have an order of conditions ready.
Sure, are there any public comments?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, are there any public comments? Thank you, Bill.
No problem.
No,
Well, yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
thank you.
So I move that we close the hearing for DEP file number 1371667, located at 287 Lindsay Pond Road. And that we issue the following order of conditions with findings A, B, and C, with standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 57.
Second.
Thank you very much. And the vote, Nick,
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Gary,
I,
and I'm an I as well. Thank you very much.
You're done.
Thank you very much, Karen. I'll provide you with where the order should go tomorrow. I just need to coordinate with the team.
Thank you.
Very good.
Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Good luck with the project.
Okay. So next we have a new application, which is for Middlesex School at 1400 Lowell Road, DP file 1371674. Who do we have?
Hey, good evening.
Yes.
You have me online, Stephen Ventresca.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi. Thank you for hearing us tonight. Again, my name is Stephen Ventresca with Niche Engineering, civil engineer, licensed in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The project that we have before you is Middlesex School, and I'm going to share my screen. Delia, if you could.
Yes, 1 second. All set. You should be good to go.
Thank you. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. Thumbs up.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is the project site that's outlined in yellow at 1400 Lowell Road. Lowell Road is this to the left, and the associated parcels around the Middlesex site, which is this bigger piece here. This is the main campus of the Middlesex School here. And again, the site that we're focusing on tonight is this in yellow. This is where we're proposing a new athletic center for the school. It will be essentially a podium building where there will be parking at grade, and then the rest of the structure will be above that parking. There will also be some parking around the outside of the building, and we can show that in more detail. But essentially the project will be on this existing gravel area that's here. When we go to, I have some pictures that show you, we'll get down to ground level in a minute here, but this is just a close-up showing that existing parking area that's there today, the gravel area. These are the acorn houses that were built last year, that were permitted through the planning board a few years ago. And then the wetland that we're in the buffer zone is up here, that's shown with these little red dashed lines that indicate the 25, 50, and 100-foot buffers right here. And just for context, this is the ore gym that's existing, that's right here. Getting down to the site level, this is a shot of the parking lot looking at those acorn houses that I just talked about. You can see the gravel area that's here. This is looking north, and so this is the area that will be impacting in the buffer zones down here. This existing acorn house that's here will be removed and demolished as part of this project. And then another shot looking at that gravel area looking northwest. This is looking west into that athletic field that we saw in the earlier picture, that baseball field, which is over here. So we're just looking at it on this shot here. And then this is looking back towards the school, towards the ore gym, which is what we're seeing here in this shot. So this is standing with those new acorn houses to our back. And then here's another shot looking towards the Acorn houses, which are here. And this is Lowell Road in the background. Getting into the meat of the project and the concerns for the commission. Again, that existing, or excuse me, the proposed athletic building, which is here, it's shown in white. And then what's shown in the colors are the different stormwater treatments that we're proposing. In this blue color, we're looking at underground concrete chambers here, here, and here. And then in these areas that are shaded, we're looking at porous asphalt with discharges that are using the existing connection points out to the wetland, which are here, here, shown in the dashed blue lines. We are meeting rates and volumes based on the soil conditions and the site conditions. We're meeting the volume requirements in these two chamber systems here. This is where we're above groundwater. As we go page north or north, these systems here start to get into groundwater. And so we're lining the systems and we're looking to achieve water quality and rate reduction with these systems here. So overall at these discharge points here and here, we're looking to reduce flow rate and volumes to those locations. And just for context, this is that house. The house that we're taking down is in this location right here, where the expanded parking lot will be. And to the right is the ore gym that we had talked about earlier. And then the Acorn houses are here to the left. And then Lowell Road is here. And then Pratt Lane, which kind of encompasses the northern part of the site, is here in this location. Just zooming in a little bit, now we have Pratt Lane to the left as it comes through the site and then comes around as it does currently. This is that existing house that we're looking at that we're going to remove. And then this is just showing the existing conditions today that are impacted or that are within the 100-foot, which is this line right here and this area here shaded, and then in the 50-foot. And again, it shows here on this wetland over here, the 100-foot that is currently within the existing impervious areas. Just to note, we're not doing any work within the 25-foot, and then the limited work that we are doing within the 50-foot is the reconstruction of this parking or the asphalt that's here, and then some work that we need to do for electric connections here, which we'll show in a minute. So this is the work that we're proposing within, again, those same buffer zones to the wetland that's here. Again, the 25, no work shown. It's the 50-foot, we have limited pavement work, probably no pavement work here, but we'll have to do some saw cutting to make some transition pieces for the pavement. And then here within the 100-foot where the majority of the work is for the new parking stalls that are here and here, and recreating some more channelized areas for traffic circulation through this parking area. And you can see on this side where there was a little bit more impervious, we're reducing that by adding some more landscaped areas here.
Steve, I
So
have a
overall,
Steve, I
oh,
have
I'm
a
sorry,
question.
sure.
While you have this page up.
Yep.
That area that's in the 50-foot wetland buffer zone that you're gonna be resurfacing, is there gonna be parking back there, or is that just a turnaround
No.
area?
No, this is the existing Pratt Lane that cuts through the site. So it'll just be a drive aisle as it currently is today. Will continue to be so. And the parking that we're doing is in these areas here.
Parking down below. So that area is that just, does that end there, or is it continue to your left? No, so that just ends there, right?
Correct.
So why wouldn't you cut it off? Why not get out of the 50-foot zone altogether?
I'm sorry. So I'm going to go back. Because that is part of the circulation for the existing campus. And to cut it off would cut off houses, would cut off access, would cut off circulation too. So this is the area that
I
would
see.
cut off access to the back.
So there is a road. Oh,
there is a road.
Okay, I didn't
So
see
the
that.
back of the parking is part of the
Yeah,
road.
part of the
in
road.
essence?
Okay, all right.
I got you. I didn't
Exactly.
understand. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So this Lowell Road, this is Pratt Lane that's here, and Pratt Lane
Got it.
swings around, comes to the back, and I'll go back one more.
I got it now. I see what you're
Yeah.
doing. Okay.
Yeah. So we're reconstructing what's already there,
Yeah, okay.
Pratt Lane, and then establishing the parking in this area right here is really what's happening. So again, this is that circulation that gets us around to the back of the site of the school where there's more parking that exists today.
Okay.
Can I ask another just sort of theoretical or clarification question on the
Sure,
conceptual? I mean, is the plan for the gym or gym that you've referred to remain? Or is this field house
correct.
going to replace that?
The origin will remain. The athletic center is being constructed to help facilitate additional practice area within the site. So that allow all of the students to play, and to practice, within campus without having to be sort of, I'm going to say scheduled, activities that may not be conducive to what the school wants to do, within a normal school range for Middlesex. And I'll ask, so Brian Sutherland is here as well. He can speak to the programming, but essentially it's allowing for the school to do more programming for their athletics.
Okay.
I'll get back to presentation. So we talked about the existing conditions here that are within the buffer, and then the proposed conditions that we want to do for parking and for stormwater. And so these areas right here that we'll have for parking will be porous asphalt in these locations right here, and then the circulation between them. This is showing work within the buffer zone where we have to do tree removal. Currently, we're proposing to remove 6 trees that have a DBH of approximately 65 inches. We're proposing to replace within the site. So some replacement will occur here, but the majority of the replacement will occur outside the buffer zone. And we're proposing to do 93 inches of replacement of tree caliper replacement of deciduous trees and 153 inches of replacement of evergreen trees to help supplement or to help mitigate what we're doing here. And I can zoom in on that later. But I just wanted to end on this slide here just to show the overall site that we're proposing for this new athletic center, which again is this building here and the associated parking off of Pratt Lane, which is this piece here, to allow for circulation and parking. So majority of the parking is underneath the podium building. We do have parking around the site in these areas here, and then standard asphalt in the drive aisles around. So we're currently in front of the planning board looking for a special permit for this project. And that special permit is for building height for the building, for the new athletic center. We are also just starting stormwater review. We're doing a third-party review through the town, and that's just getting underway. But we have been in front of the planning board to present this project, and we'll be back in front of them again next week, and anticipating in front of the zoning board in August if we're able to work together and get this completed. So at this time, that is the end of the presentation. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain them. I will share that when we initially provided the application, we had inadvertently put down that this was a BVW project, that we were doing something to the wetland. We are not. We're just a buffer zone project. So it's provided a corrected form to not only to the town, but also to the DEP office. Yeah.
Thank you,
With that,
Stephen.
we'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to talk about the mitigation for the trees. You said you're taking down 6 trees, and most of the mitigation is outside of the buffer zone. And I'm sure you appreciate that the real value of mitigation is when it's in the buffer zone.
Mhm.
So are there opportunities to move any of that planting closer to the wetland area or into the wetland area?
It's difficult based on, so we can look at that. I will say it's difficult. We have tried to provide plantings here within the buffer zone that you can see in this landscaped area. We are providing 1, 2, 3 new trees here as well. And then, like I said, we're providing additional trees here. So we can take a look at that. And I don't know, so we have the landscape architect on as well, and Tyler probably may be able to answer that question. I think getting into other areas across the street, we're starting to get into the wetland and into that 25-foot buffer zone. And
Yeah, there's a,
Um,
hi everyone, this is Tyler Cromley from Arcadis Landscape Architects. On the other side of Pratt Lane, there's just a very narrow margin between the edge of the roadway and the existing scrubby brush line. And there's also a power line running over that side of Pratt Lane.
Mm.
So if we did any planting, it would probably be limited to shrubs, just because we wouldn't want the trees to grow up. I imagine that's why it's cleared along that roadway margin, because there's a power line.
I'm just highlighting the power line right there.
So, but some shrubs would be feasible, do you think?
We should check with the owner. I think a couple shrubs would probably fit in there if that would be viewed as desirable for buffer mitigation.
I think the other thing that you could consider is in that landscape bed where you've got the
Yeah.
junipers, you could replace that with trees instead.
Those
You've got some
are,
shrub plantings there that
Those are
maybe-
evergreen trees, actually, so they're native Juniper virginiana, and they're intended to help with screening from the residents against the parking lot.
And what about what is that hydrangea?
Yeah, those are smooth hydrangea, so they're the native hydrangea arborescens. And then that tree on the corner is actually an existing tree. I think it's a big Zelkova. So it's not native, but it's pretty sizable. And we're keeping that. So we also don't want to plant a
Mhm.
bunch of trees in that root zone just because it's big. And then also within that buffer zone, just continuing south, we have a red maple.
Mhm.
There's one that's inside the buffer and one next to it that's outside. And that wavy hatch that you see is all a native Carrick seed mix to help with runoff and just have something other than lawn to be a sustainable edge to the parking lot. And we've got native shrubs and perennials and grasses throughout the project. I have just a total I can run through: 813 shrubs, 769 native grasses, 2,047 native perennials, and then the native Carrick seed mix surrounding the parking lot. And some of that is within the buffer. So we're really trying to make this a green and sustainable project. It's just tight to cram it all in the buffer zone meaningfully. But the
What
stormwater
kind-
runoff entering in
Sorry,
there
what-
will be,
What
Go ahead.
trees are you taking out? What kind of trees are they? Did you mention that? I don't remember.
I didn't yet. So the big one on the right, the 30-incher is a Norway spruce. So that's not native. The
Right.
3 multi-stems are amelanchiers. So those are native. I'm not positive on the 12 and 5, but I think they're also Zelkovas that were planted along that parking lot, probably as an alternative to elms, just as a, a shade street tree type species.
Hmm. And that green island you have where the tree is being removed, what's being planted in there? Right there in the center?
Right in the center,
Yeah, right
That-
there.
Princeton elm. So that's a Dutch elm resistant
Oh, okay.
elm cultivar.
I see it now. Okay. Hmm.
Everyone okay?
So I have a question about what the plans are for dewatering.
So plans for dewatering, I think are standard, Delio. When they see something and they need to dewater it, they'll pump, we're not going to pump towards the wetland or within any structures. If we need to get a frac tank, we'll get a frac tank. If we have space to do some type of stilling basin, we will do that.
So usually the commission wants to see a little bit more specificity. I expect that you would anticipate that you would need to dewater, is that right?
That's a good question. I don't know that we had to dewater when we did the work over on the Acorn houses. This building does not have a traditional foundation. And so the podium systems that they have here for the columns, I don't believe would require extensive dewatering, like you would think digging out a full basement. But we can provide more context on an updated plan.
Okay, have you
Yeah,
done,
it's a shallow foundation system, actually.
have you done
Right,
soil
sorry.
testing?
Brian, can
Oh,
you
yeah.
just identify yourself?
Sorry, Brian Sutherland. I'm one of the consultants that works for the Middlesex School. Yes, we have a complete geotechnical report
Oh,
for
good.
the building construction, for the footings and foundations. Shallow foundations, we specifically wanted to stay high in elevation to stay out of the water table.
Okay.
For
So
this,
that's great. Has engineering witnessed those test pits?
Test bits that were performed for the Acorn Housing Project and preliminary for the athletic for this project here were
Yes.
witnessed by Justin. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay,
Great.
so I think, yeah, a little bit more detail on, you know, what you expect to encounter and what dewatering you might anticipate.
Okay.
Locations of anything shown on the plan that might be within jurisdiction, and hopefully you have enough room outside of it that you can handle it outside. I think you should be able to.
Quick question, how did you come to that decision about how many parking spaces you have?
So that was based on discussions with the school currently parking the number of spaces that they have now within campus, and then what was anticipated for the athletic center. So that, and you know, frankly, what we could fit around the site to allow for emergency vehicles access and just regular access for the vehicles to maximize as much as possible. So we were trying to replace what was there before, and that parking lot is used as much as possible. So not just students, but staff as well. So we were trying to replicate as best we could in a more formalized setting, which is what is shown here.
So have you added parking spaces from what was there previously? I know before it was just an open field, but are you adding more spaces?
No, we're actually reducing it in an overall campus wide. We're reducing the spaces by around approximately 25 or so, but still well within. We have more than what's required by zoning, so we still meet the zoning requirements for parking.
Okay.
I guess the last issue that was brought up was the outstanding order of
Yes,
conditions.
gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
Oh,
There are-
So before we, can we just go back to the native plantings? I know that juniper virginianus, I know that's native, but it's kind of a boring, you know, it's not the most, you know, I'm not sure, you know, I don't know what is being screened from what, and so maybe that is what is being, you know, but there are tons of other, you know, really high value, you know, oak and other tree species that are good, you know, wildlife and pollinator trees, and there's a lot of, you know, caliber that's coming out of the buffer zone, and so I would like to just ask that there's a little bit more consideration given to some, you know, some better, you know, one-to-one replacement for the caliber that's being lost in the buffer zone to what is being replaced.
Okay, and if it helps, we could go through the plant list. There's a lot of other native species. I get what you're saying. They're not.
Yeah,
in
so
the-
we're
in the
really
buffer
concerned
zone.
about, I think it's great that there's, you know, a strong, you know, a robust native, you know, concentration, but we're really concerned about what's in the buffer zone, and outside of that is, you know, not in the purview of this board.
Okay, we'll look at that and try to rearrange some things.
Great, thank you.
And then lastly, I just a notation here, there's, I think, 7 outstanding order of conditions that need to be closed out. I think it was I think Delia, you know, it was in the last
Yeah.
order of conditions as a requirement, so I guess under this future order of conditions, it'll be underscored that those order of conditions should be closed out, I think you said within 6 months.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd actually, I mean, I'd like to adhere to what we put in the last set of conditions, that they should have been, that you wouldn't bring forward any other projects until they're closed out. because we're at that timing now, so I wonder if it's possible to do that in parallel to before this is permitted, I guess.
So what is I guess I would ask what the construction schedule is for this project.
The construction schedule is, if everything falls into place nicely, we would be late August, early September. There is some upfront work that needs to happen on campus before September. So we're working with other parts of the town to sort of to get that moving as best as we can. But yeah, that's the general late August, early September time.
And the time, and what's your anticipated completion date?
I'll ask Brian if he can give that date. I don't want to.
It's a 16-month schedule, pretty much.
So you could tie it to a certificate of occupancy.
Yeah.
Which gives them,
Okay,
It would be
Yeah.
nice to see some progress though, since
Yeah.
we kind of got the Heisman on the last order of conditions that appeared.
and it's been in the
Yeah.
last several
Yeah.
orders.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's just,
Yeah.
I'm sure the
Yeah.
client has the wherewithal to,
Yeah.
Focus and
Yeah.
close those out.
right.
Mhm.
does-
Yeah, so may I ask, is it possible, Madam Chair, to have Delia email us those numbers, DEP numbers that are open so that we
Yeah,
can,
it's in the last recorded order of conditions, which we can certainly provide you with.
yeah, that would be helpful.
Sure,
I don't think I have that, Delia, that's why I'm asking.
yep. That's easy, Steve, no problem.
Yeah, easy to send the email. No, I appreciate it.
And you said the stormwater report is being reviewed, so will that all have been done before our next meeting? Would you like to continue to the July 24th?
We would like to continue to July 24th. We are hoping that we would receive comments before then and that we were able to address them. So yes, and if we can't, then we will certainly request a continuance.
Great.
And that
From the
July
24th.
24th meeting is likely to shift to July 31st.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a heads up. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay, are there any other commissioner comments? No, any public comments on this? I think it's anyone else there, right there, yeah. Yeah, okay, well, thank you, that was very clear and helpful, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
We'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Delia, is there anything that we need to sign or for continuance or we're good?
This is it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Okay. So next we have an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 185 Eastbridge Road, BP file 1371675.
Hi, I'm here for that.
Oh, hi, Nathaniel.
Hello. All right. So hi, my name is Nathaniel. I'm with Stancy McNary, and I'm here for 185 Heathsbridge Road. As mentioned, this is an ANRAD. So the purpose of this is just to confirm the delineation of the bordering vegetated wetland. So this is a single-family lot located off Heathsbridge. So on the screen now, Heathsbridge is to the west, with the wetland kind of in the middle of the lot to the east of the house. It was flagged by B&C, located with field survey, and then we kind of noted that based on aerial views and maps that the Sudbury River was 200 feet within the wetland. So we're kind of showing the estimation of that 200 foot based on that. So if the 200 foot boundary is fully within the wetland, and we wouldn't do any wetland work, it wouldn't have any implications on anything that the owner's looking to do. Regardless, though, the request is just to confirm the delineation of the PVW. It is 228 linear feet running all the way through the site, wetland flags 1 through 10. There's also floodplain on the site, which was located by field survey as well. We have the base flood elevation on the plan, 120.3. And then other than that, the focus is really on the resource area. So naturally, I don't really have a ton of detail to add. So that's pretty much it. I'll take any questions if there are any, but thank you, and I'll give it back to the chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, any comments from the commission?
No, you were fine with the delineations and.
Yeah, Bert
Yeah.
reviewed it. It's fine. The only thing is that
Yeah.
the riverfront area hasn't been delineated,
Mm.
so that's not included in the approval,
Oh, yeah.
just for the BBW flags.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
finding.
Yeah.
Yeah, any public comments? No, okay, so we have a recommendation to close the hearing and issue an order, well, order,
Order of resource
Order-
area
yeah,
delineation.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's what I was looking for, oh, thank you, okay.
Okay, I
Please
move the
take it.
following
Thanks, Nick.
findings, 185 Heathsbridge Road, DEP file number 137-1675. Applicant Joel and Daphne Gould, property owner Gene Walensky. ORAD issued July 12th, 2024. 1, the Natural Resources Commission. The commission has verified the following resource area boundaries as shown on the resource area delineation plan prepared by Stamsky and McNary, Inc., dated June 12th, 2024. The title is Bordering Vegetated Wetland Flag Numbers WF1 through WF10. This order of resource area delineation does not confirm the boundaries of the approximate riverfront area shown on the resource area delineation plan. Note, there may be other resource areas present on the site which the commission was not asked to verify. In addition, the commission was unable to verify resource area boundary flags other than the ones approved in this ORAD. For this reason, the commission reserves the right to review any future proposal for work on site to determine if there is a resource area or portion thereof not verified in this ORAD that may trigger the commission's jurisdiction.
Thank you, Nick.
Second.
Thank you, Ed, and the vote, Nick,
Aye.
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 Gary, and I'm an aye as well. Thank you very much, Nathaniel.
Thank you. All right, have a good night.
You too.
See you,
You
guys.
too.
Okay, moving on, we next have an extension request for 22A and 25A Silver Hill Road.
Like me to come up to the table?
Oh, yeah,
Sure,
yeah, please.
Okay, so I'm Andy Buhner, and I'm presenting on behalf of the Silver Hill Association, a request for an extension of our order of conditions, which was approved by this commission back in 2020, just
Mhm.
prior to COVID. So, as I presented in my letter and I don't have my photos with me, but we've contracted with All Habitat, who works with Mass Department of Environmental Protection, to work out what kinds of chemicals that are safe for the native species within the pond to be treated. And I think it's pretty clear that they've been successful in managing. Initially, we had a very serious problem with surface growth of water lilies on the pond. And for 2 years, I think the treatments were to sort of deal with the surface growth, but then successfully eliminating the surface growth of the water lilies. That exposed the water column to a lot more sunlight, so we got more algae growing. And so the shift of the treatment was to move towards reducing the algal growth in the submerged aquatic vegetation. We've also have Phragmites invasives at the northeast end of the pond, and so they've done both spot spraying with people walking with backpack sprayers. So this is using ClearCast, which is a glyphosate chemical. And then they also did a dormant mowing 1 year after the native avian life had been done breeding. So that's generally been pretty successful at keeping the Phragmites at bay. And so I think we, as a association, are very pleased with the improvements that has happened to the pond. That makes it much more amenable to the swimming, non-motorized boating and fishing. It's certainly still a very healthy pond in terms of plant growth as well as vertebrate and invertebrate life. But I think in working with All Habitat, we feel like it's going to be an ongoing matter of dealing with just judging what the situation is. So this year we started with treatments that were more dealing with underwater growth, but now we have water lilies emerging. So the plan is to apply the clear cast, and then C Clear is another chemical they use to try to improve water clarity. So people that have younger kids want to improve the water clarity so they can see where the kids are if they're underwater, when they're swimming. And I would say, just to emphasize again, that all of the chemical treatments that they use are approved by the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. And they basically have no long-term effects on invertebrate or vertebrate quality of life. And, you know, people can swim the next day. There's just no long-term effect. So I'd say the one thing that we fell out of step with was partly due to COVID, partly due to changes in the board and people overseeing, was our order of conditions was that we would do chemical testing of the pond conditions, report to the commission each year. And we managed to drop the ball, I think, in 2021 and 2022. So I've talked to Delia about this, and we've been much more, going to be much more proactive about making sure that we do the chemical testing in the 3 areas of the pond: the inlet, the mid center of the pond, and the outlet. And we did the chemical testing this past year, and it came out with improved levels compared to what it was 3 years ago. One of the things that happened was we'd use Neshoba Analytical to do the pond water chemical testing, and found out that they no longer do non-potable water. So we actually had to find another vendor. And so we're using Rhode Island Analytical, and so they're the ones that came up and did the testing for us. So I think if you look at the quality of the pond in 2020, which were some of these photos were taken by All Habitat, compared to currently, there's really significant improvement in the pond.
Yeah.
So this is looking down at the Phragmites area, where
Yeah.
it was a fairly extensive stand of Phragmites along with the water lilies. And then this is showing a more recent photo where the pond is much clearer as a result. And this is to show where they did the mowing along with the chemical treatments, and it's allowing some native wetlands vegetation like cattails to grow back. So there's still significant Phragmites. It's hard to eradicate or control Phragmites, but I think it's actually, we're keeping it at bay.
It's been 40 years since I swam in that pond, so it's been a long time. But I don't remember, does it have a dam? I can't remember, is it dam?
So the way it works is, so we are unfortunately not a kettle pond. It
Right,
flows,
yeah.
and so one of the problems we have is that until the town manages to get around to fixing the road,
Yeah,
which drains a lot of the water runoff from the road, drains right into the pond. So we have a major inlet from the west side of the pond.
Yeah.
And then there's a culvert that comes down. If there's a lot of water coming down off the hill there, right near the beach, that's also drains in right to the side where the pointer is.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the lower end of the pond is where the main water flow is, and there's also water coming in through the Carlisle end of the pond, through where the Phragmites is. And then there's an outflow underneath a road access to
Yeah, yeah.
Ilana and another family member's homes.
Oh,
And so we can control the water level of the pond with we have boards that control whether the water level is too high or too low.
mhm, okay.
So it's sort of semi-dam. The biggest issue is if we have active beaver population. So far, unfortunately, the last 2 years, the beavers have been not problematic at all. And then it flows out from under that culvert flowing out, and then it drains through a wetlands area into
That's
the
right.
Concord
I
River
remember.
watershed.
How deep is the pond?
I think the deepest area, which is, this doesn't, so that's the major island there, the big one there.
Yep, yep.
Just below that, so that area there, coming just below that is probably around 16 feet.
Oh,
Where we have, so, but as you go further and further to the west, it gets to be like 5 to 6 feet, and 2 to 3 around the inlet area. So most of the swimming is from the beach
mhm.
going into that deeper area, but I just had someone who's been a long-term homeowner there say it's the best that she's seen the pond in years, and she swims back and forth
Huh.
out and then past the far side of the island. I've seen her swimming around that big island, and
Oh, boy.
yeah, so it's really been.
that's
That's really
quite
good.
improved.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
That's great to hear.
So our request is to continue the order of conditions for another 3 years. Do a much better job of making sure that we attend to all the provisions of the order of conditions, that we do the water testing and report those and provide the end of year reports, which I think we've managed to keep get the end of year reports to the commission. And continue to work with All Habitat to make sure that we're doing the best we can as far as managing the quality of the water and without disturbing the native wildlife there.
Great. Any comments from the commission? I don't see any public comments on this?
No, I just had one question, Delia. I know when we've looked at other chemical treatments, we've been very cautious about the chemicals that are going in and their lifespan and so on.
Yeah.
So you've looked at the reports and all the chemicals that have been have they
They're
been
all ones that-
consistent or changing over time
They're
to?
all ones that have been previously approved by the commission.
Okay,
For
great.
aquatic treatments, yes.
Okay, so that'd be.
And I'd say their lifespan is like less than a day. I mean,
Yeah.
they basically
Great.
absorb by the plant and they become inert with, so there's no, when they put up the signs, notice that the pond has been treated with chemical, like Clear Cast or the Sea Clear. It's basically, there's no number of days that you can't be swimming or no number of days that you can't be using the water for,
Right.
Just that day or
Water,
whatever.
yeah.
This
Yeah,
one day, okay.
great, thank you.
Yeah, and we do, we follow the requirements that we put out an announcement ahead of time that the pond is gonna be treated on such and such a date, and then when they come, they put out a sign that posts the notice, which is a requirement
Yeah.
by the state or the Commonwealth.
Yeah, very good. Do we need a vote on this?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so, let's.
Can I make a motion?
Yes,
yeah,
please,
go ahead.
yes, the motion would be
You want to do it or
good,
me
yeah.
to do it?
Sure, I'll do it.
Good.
I move that we issue a 3-year extension to the Silver Hill Association DP file 137-1527 for ongoing chemical control of aquatic plant growth at the pond.
Second,
Thank you, Ed and Nick. And the vote, Nick?
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Good work.
Thanks for the good work.
We have 2 certificates of compliance.
The first one, 1266 Lowell Road, that's for invalid order conditions because they never did any of the work.
Oh, okay.
And then 61 Lindsay Pond Road, you see it's pretty old order conditions. It's for construction of a house and driveway. There's some minor differences in the driveway alignment, but nothing of much substance.
Yeah.
So that was all good.
Okay, so we need to vote for this as well, right? Can I have a motion, please?
Sure, I move that we issue certificates of compliance for 1266 Lowell Road, DEP file 137-1569, and 61 Lindsay Pond Road, DEP file 137-306.
Second.
Can I just say that I think the first one, the DEP file is actually 137-1337. Is it different in the different documents? Oh, yeah, so the agenda is different to the,
Oh,
I guys got that.
yep.
So what's the DEP file for Lowell Road?
well, it depends which is right.
Oh, yeah.
Darren's research.
Deal is going into the archives.
Bert's gonna beat me.
It's a race.
I was worried it was your eyes at first. but it's
No,
actually-
no.
It is not 1569. What was the other number?
1337.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1337. Yeah,
Good catch.
yeah.
So Lowell Road, it's DEP file 137-1337.
Yeah.
1337. And then, of course, Lindsay Pond Road, DEP file 137-306.
Second.
Thank you. And the vote,
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well, thank you. And last but not least, we have one administrative approval.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't know, I'm Steve Boyle from 60 Ridgeway Road. I didn't know how much documentation or example information people might want to see. We started talking with Will in, what was it, March, May? Two of the trees that, border our property. This is 60 Ridgeway
I have
with
it up
the.
here.
Oh, there you go.
Great.
Up there, okay.
Great. So, thank you very much. That's not a cottonwood actually, but close enough.
So this is, we'll put this together.
Yeah, okay. What had happened was, there used to be a black cherry above where that's labeled red maple. And then a couple years ago, it decided to join my wife's closet and punch through the end wall of the house.
Wow.
So, that got us started thinking, and then in the spring, there were two, I believe there were sassafras that were a little below where it's labeled as cottonwood that blew over to the east. Completely exposed their root systems. Everything around there seems to be very shallow rooted.
Yeah.
Cause it's close to the wetlands.
Wetlands,
probably.
Yeah, oh yeah, right. And, yeah, cause the, looking at it upside down. The northeast corner of the house actually is pretty much on the 25-foot line.
Mm.
And then the 50, you can actually see it bisect the house.
Mhm.
So it's problematic all through there. When I went through it today, we had marked a lot of trees with Will. And then Marquee Tree came out and, we looked at what would be, I found out what it was gonna cost to get trees taken down, and we
Yeah.
prioritized 5 of them.
Mhm.
Now, when I walked it again today, I came up with black cherry as marked there. There's a cluster of 2 sassafras that are slightly above where it's marked as cottonwood. And there's a sassafras that's slightly below that cottonwood. And then there's a white oak that's just above where that's marked tree. I don't have my glasses on. It would be to the west of the red maple. The red
Tree
maple,
five, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
the red maple is definitely one of the trees that was tagged by Will, but not by Marquee. And honestly, when I walked it with Will and we marked everything off, it's like, well, yeah, okay, I guess we could tag it, but they weren't really many, if people want to look at
Yeah,
these.
And when you say tag it versus Will versus Marquee, what's that different?
So,
The
so
differential.
Will wouldn't tag a tree for removal. That's-
No,
Yeah,
he suggested that those were trees we might want to look at
yeah,
with Marquee to be, so
okay.
my
Okay.
lexicon is not gonna match yours. I'm
No,
completely
No, no, no,
genuine
that's
to
all
No,
right,
it's okay,
that's
that's great.
It'd be easier to say, we'll put green tape around something.
Yeah.
And then Marquee came through and stapled pink tags on the ones that seem to be the most threat.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we are requesting administrative approval for the 5 trees that Marquee has tagged, which are the black cherry, 3 sassafras, 2 in a cluster and 1 slightly above that cottonwood, and then a white oak that's actually slightly west of the red maple. We are not gonna touch the red maple. So, and it kills me to cut down the cherry and the oak, but I'm trying to figure out if I can get the logs from them. So
So a total of 5?
for a total of 5, yeah. My Marquee and my checkbook decided that was what we could do. So,
I hear you.
Yeah.
um,
And would you be willing to leave a snag of one of the, like the cherry or the oak for
Oak,
wildlife
yeah.
habitat?
well, the cherry is problematic, but yes, I'm perfectly happy to leave snags of either one. The cherry is actually fairly close to the house, as you
Okay.
can see.
Yep, so maybe
And,
not cherry then. Yeah.
The picture of the black cherry that was taken earlier in the spring with no foliage, so you can see where the overhangs are.
That-
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a snag of that would not be overly problematic, but my belief is the ants are up the inside of that tree. There is no core left to it,
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
you know?
Maybe it's-
So,
What about the oak?
the oak, yeah, sure,
That'd be great.
perfectly happy, you know, and the sassafras, those, they grow like weeds around us.
Yeah,
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's all that really needs to be addressed at this point. My wife was a little disconcerted.
Yeah.
Cause she was in the house, she
Oh,
was in the house when it hit, so,
Yeah. Right.
you know, that'll, definitely get your attention.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting because when I first started trying, my wife's parents were the original owners of this house, so 1956. And then when we got married, she moved out, we moved away, and then her parents decided they want to sell the house, so we bought the house. And we went in there in 80, I want to say 87. And the wetlands delineations were very different at that time, as you'd expect,
Right.
right? I joke that the biggest change was they stopped plowing the farm field, and all of a sudden there was more soil life
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, but the 25 and the 50 are very workable. We just had some pruning work done out front on a locust, and I think it was another red maple. Which was good because that way, we kept the trees, but yeah, it's actually pretty woody back there. It's when the house was built, there was nothing there. There was no Dalton Road, there was no Ripley, there was nothing but field and meadow.
Yeah.
And so now it's coming to the end of the first generation of all the stuff that grew up since. And you get all the stuff that's snapping off and breaking off, and, falling over. So hopefully, something better than the sassafras and the other.
Tornado did a bunch of damage in there too, didn't
The tornado passed within 80 feet of our back door.
Wow.
We tracked.
I remember going over there after.
Yeah.
Devastation.
Yeah,
It was
and it
crazy.
was, you could tell where it went because there's I think it was the French did a study on it, and tornadoes snap trees off at a very consistent height from the ground. And you could just walk around there in Dalton Road and Ripley, and it was shocking. We were thanking all the people on the hill for taking the brunt out of the snow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because it was right off the river and up and over.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
so that's where we are.
so we don't need a vote for this one, do we? Yep.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
You're all set.
We're all
Great.
set.
What I
Thank
would
you.
like to do, Delia, at some point is, listening to the conversations about planting higher quality, non-invasive trees near the wetlands. We're gonna get more information about that.
Give us a call.
Okay,
Yeah.
because, there's a bunch of junk over in the back corner, and
Yeah.
it's gonna have to come down, but at some point,
Yeah.
not imminently. But, the sooner I get started replacing some of that stuff, the
Yeah.
better. And I'm perfectly happy, with the 10-foot butt on the oak, I'm perfectly happy to put something there. And
Great.
why, completely open to suggestions.
Okay.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
all
you.
right,
Thank you very much.
and thank you.
Thanks
Great.
very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Karen.
Are we adjourned?
Yeah, we're signing papers.
Yes, there we go.
Adjourned.
Yeah.